You are alone in a room. The door is closed. The lights are off. You are sitting on your bed, scrolling through your phone, and everything is quiet. Then, without any sound, without any movement, without any logical reason, the back of your neck goes cold. Your shoulders tense. Your breathing changes. Something in your brain flips a switch and screams at you. Someone is watching. You turn around fast. Nothing. The room is empty. The window is closed. The door has not moved. But the feeling does not go away. It sits in your chest like a weight. You were so sure. You would have bet your life that someone was standing behind you, staring at the back of your head. This is not paranoia. This is not anxiety. This is not your imagination playing tricks. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. And the most disturbing part is not that you felt it. The most disturbing part is that sometimes your brain is right. Human beings have a system built into their skull that detects when eyes are pointed at them. Not because of magic, not because of spirits. Because for most of human history, being watched meant you were about to be eaten. Your ancestors who ignored that feeling, who shrugged off the sensation of eyes on their back, did not survive long enough to pass on their genes. The ones who trusted it, who turned around, who ran when their brain said predator, lived. You are descended from the paranoid ones. The ones whose brains were so sensitive to being observed that they saw threats even when none existed. Because 10 false alarms are better than 1 missed lion. But here is the problem. That system is still running, right now. In your modern apartment, in your office, in the crowded subway where no one cares about you, your brain is constantly scanning for eyes. It is checking the angle of every face in your peripheral vision. It is listening for the sound of footsteps that stop when you stop. It is building a map of who might be looking at you and from where. And when the data is unclear, when your brain is not sure, it does not wait for confirmation. It assumes the worst. It tells you, someone is watching. Turn around. Now. Most of the time, your brain is wrong. Most of the time, the feeling is a false alarm. But not always. And that is what makes this story dangerous. Because if your brain can detect a real threat before your conscious mind notices anything, then what else is it picking up that you are ignoring? And if it can create the sensation of being watched when no one is there, how do you ever know when to trust it? This is the story of 3 people who felt eyes on them. One was right, one was wrong. One discovered that the line between the two is so thin that it barely exists at all. The first case comes from a small apartment in Cairo. A woman in her 30s lives alone. She works from home, sleeps late, keeps her curtains closed during the day because the sun is too bright. For 2 months, she has been waking up in the middle of the night with the same feeling. Someone is in the room. Not standing over her, not touching her. Just present. Watching. She described it to her sister as a weight in the air, a thickness that was not there during the day. When she tried to explain it to friends, they told her it was stress. When she mentioned it to her mother said it was a jinn, a spirit that had taken an interest in her. Maybe because she lived alone. Maybe because she stayed up too late and did not pray enough. The explanation felt old-fashioned, superstitious, the kind of thing her grandmother would say. But it also felt right. She started sleeping with the lights on. That helped for a few nights. Then the feeling came back, even with the lights. She put a Quran next to her bed and played recitations on her phone while she slept. That helped for a week. Then the feeling returned, stronger. One night she woke up at 3 in the morning and the feeling was so overwhelming that she sat up, fully awake, and spoke out loud. I know you are here. I can feel you. The room stayed silent, but the sensation did not leave. It pressed down on her like a hand on her chest. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and swept it across every corner of the room. Nothing. No one. Just her furniture, her clothes, the same 4 walls she saw every day. The next morning she went to a neighbor and asked if anyone had been in the building at night. The neighbor, an older man who lived 1 floor below, looked uncomfortable. He admitted that yes, he had been coming upstairs sometimes, late at night. He had a key to her apartment because the landlord gave it to him in case of emergencies. He said he was checking the pipes. He said he thought she was asleep. He said he did not want to bother her. He was in her apartment, multiple times, while she was sleeping. Standing in her kitchen, walking past her bedroom door. And somehow, even though she never woke up, even though she never heard him, her brain knew. It felt his eyes. It screamed at her in the only way it could. Someone was watching. She moved out 2 weeks later. The neighbor denied everything to the landlord and the police.
There was no evidence, no cameras, no witnesses, just her word and his. But she did not need evidence. She knew. Her brain had been trying to tell her for 2 months. And when she finally listened, she realized the jinn her mother warned her about was not a spirit. It was a man with a key who thought she would never notice. The second case happened in Sao Paulo. A man in his 40s lived in an apartment on the 8th floor. His bedroom window faced another building, close enough that he could see into a few of the apartments across the street. One night while lying in bed, he noticed movement in the window directly across from his. A shadow. Someone standing just inside the curtain. He thought nothing of it at first. People move around in their apartments. That is normal. But the next night, the shadow was there again. Same position. Same stillness. Just standing. Watching. He started paying attention. Every night around 11, the shadow appeared. It never moved much. It just stood there, framed by the window, facing his direction. He tried to convince himself it was harmless. Maybe the person liked looking at the city lights. Maybe they were on a phone call. Maybe they didn't even realize his window was right there. But the feeling would not go away. Every time he saw the shadow, his chest tightened. His hands got cold. His brain told him, "You are being watched."
He bought binoculars. He waited until the shadow appeared. Then he focused on the window. It was a man, middle-aged, standing completely still, staring directly at his apartment. Not at the city, not at the street, at him. The man did not blink much, did not shift his weight, just watched, night after night. The man across the street started closing his curtains earlier. He moved his bed away from the window. He stopped turning on his bedroom light at night so the man could not see inside, but the feeling stayed. Even with the curtains closed, even lying in the dark, his brain kept screaming, "Someone is watching." He called the police. They said there was no crime in looking out your own window. He went to the building across the street and tried to find the apartment. The doorman would not let him in. He thought about confronting the man somehow, but what would he say? Stop looking at me? It sounded ridiculous. So he did nothing. He just lived with it. He moved his bed to the living room. He started sleeping with the TV on so his brain had something else to focus on. And every night, before he closed his eyes, he checked the window one more time. The shadow was always there, watching. Months later, he found out the apartment across the street was empty. It had been vacant for over a year. The shadow he saw was the reflection of a streetlight hitting a coat rack near the window. The stillness, the shape, the sense of a human figure, all of it was an illusion. There was no man. There was no watcher. Just light and fabric and his brain, filling in the gaps, turning a coat rack into a predator, because that is what brains do when the data is unclear. He laughed when he found out. Then he stopped laughing, because the fear had been real. The feeling had been real. His brain had convinced him, night after night, that he was in danger, and no amount of logic could turn that feeling off. The third case is the strangest, and it did not happen by accident. It happened in a laboratory. Researchers wanted to understand how the brain detects when someone is looking at you, so they ran an experiment. They brought in volunteers and put them in a room with a large screen. On the screen, they showed photographs of faces. Some of the faces were looking directly at the camera. Some were looking slightly to the left or right. The volunteers were told to press a button when they felt like the face was looking at them. The results were expected. People were very good at detecting direct eye contact. But then the researchers did something else. They showed the same faces, but this time they digitally altered the eyes so they were looking away, or they covered the eyes completely with a black bar, and they asked the same question, "Do you feel like this person is watching you?" The volunteers said yes, even when the eyes were covered, even when the face was turned away. Their brains generated the sensation of being watched, based on nothing but the shape of a head and the context of a photograph. The researchers pushed further. They put the volunteers in a room with a mannequin, no face, just a featureless white head on a stand. They positioned it behind the volunteers, out of their line of sight. Then they asked, "Do you feel like something is behind you?" Over 60% said yes. They felt a presence. They felt like they were being observed. One woman turned around and flinched when she saw the mannequin, even though it had no eyes, no expression, no ability to see anything. Her brain did not care. It detected the shape of a head in her blind spot and activated the same system it would activate if a predator were standing behind her. The researchers explained it simply. The human brain has a dedicated region, tucked into the upper part of the temporal lobe, that does nothing but track the direction of other people's eyes. It is called the superior temporal sulcus. It lights up on brain scans whenever you see a face, whenever you hear footsteps behind you, whenever your peripheral vision catches movement that could be a person. This region does not wait for confirmation. It does not need proof. It operates on suspicion. And when it is not sure, it assumes someone is watching. Because in the environment where this system evolved, hesitation got you killed. So what does this mean? It means the feeling of being watched is not a sense. It is a guess, a very educated guess, built from millions of years of survival, but still a guess. Your brain is taking in fragments, the angle of a shadow, the sound of breathing,
the slight change in air pressure when someone enters a room, and it is building a story. Most of the time, that story is close enough to reality that you survive. But sometimes the story is wrong, and you feel eyes that are not there. The woman in Cairo was right. The man in Sao Paulo was wrong. The volunteers in the lab were tricked by their own biology. But all three experienced the same sensation, the same cold certainty that they were not alone, because the system in their brain that detects watchers does not care about the truth. It cares about survival. And survival means assuming the worst, reacting first, and sorting out the details later. So the next time you feel someone watching you, the next time your neck goes cold and your brain screams turn around, do not ignore it, but do not trust it completely either, because you are not sensing a presence, you are sensing your own fear. And that fear is older than cities, older than language, older than the idea of privacy. It is the voice of your ancestors, whispering in your ear, something is hunting you, and whether that something is real or imagined, your brain will make you feel it just the same. Your brain has a watcher inside it, not a conscious thought, not something you control, a dedicated neural system that exists for one purpose, to detect when eyes are pointed at you, and it is always on. Right now, as you read this, that system is running in the background, scanning your environment, checking for threats, building a map of who might be looking and from where. You do not feel it working. You only feel it when it decides something is wrong. This system lives in a small fold of tissue near the top of your temporal lobe, just above your ear. Scientists call it the superior temporal sulcus. On a brain scan, it lights up like a flare whenever you see a face. Not just any face, specifically a face that might be looking at you. It does not wait for the eyes to move. It does not need confirmation. The moment your visual system picks up the shape of a head, the angle of a nose, the shadow where eyes should be, this region starts calculating. Is that face pointed toward me? Could those eyes see me? Am I being observed?
Most of the time, you are not aware this is happening. Your conscious mind is busy with 1,000 other things, but the watcher in your temporal lobe is not distracted. It is analyzing every person in your peripheral vision, every reflection in a window, every shadow that could be ahead. And when the math adds up wrong, when the data suggests even a small chance that someone is watching, it does not send you a polite memo. It floods your system with adrenaline, tightens your muscles, and screams at you in the language of fear. You are being hunted. This is not a bug. This is the feature. Because for most of human history, being watched was the last thing you felt before you died. A predator does not announce itself. It watches first. It tracks your movement. It waits for you to turn your back. And the humans who survived, the ones who passed their genes down to you, were the ones whose brains were sensitive enough to feel that gaze before the attack came. They were the ones who turned around for no logical reason, who ran when their gut said run, who trusted the irrational sensation of eyes on their neck, even when they could not see a threat. But that system was built in a world with far fewer people, a world where if you felt watched, it was probably true. There were not 1,000 strangers on a subway. There were not neighbors stacked in apartments on every side. There were not security cameras and car headlights and mannequins in store windows. The watcher in your brain evolved to detect a lion in tall grass, a rival human hiding in the dark, a pair of eyes locked onto you with intent. It was not built for the modern world, and it does not know the difference. So it misfires, constantly. It sees a coat on a hook and interprets it as a person. It catches a flicker of movement in your peripheral vision, a bird outside the window, a curtain shifting, and it triggers the alarm. It hears footsteps behind you on an empty street and assumes they are following you, even when the person is just walking home. Because the cost of a false alarm, a moment of fear, a quick glance over your shoulder, is nothing. The cost of missing a real threat is death. Your brain would rather scare you 100 times for no reason than let you ignore the one time it matters. And here is where it gets strange. Your brain does not just detect eyes, it predicts them. If you hear a door open behind you, your watcher does not wait to see who walked in. It assumes someone is there, facing you, looking at you. If you are alone in a room and you hear a creak, your brain does not think, the house is settling. It thinks, someone is here, and they are watching me decide what to do next. This is called predictive processing. Your brain is not passively receiving information from your senses. It is actively building a model of the world and filling in gaps before the data arrives. When the data is missing, when you cannot see who is behind you or what made that sound, your brain defaults to the most dangerous option. It assumes a watcher, because assuming safety and being wrong gets you killed. The experiments prove this. When researchers put people in rooms with hidden cameras and tell them, you might be watched, their brains activate the same regions as if a person were standing right in front of them. When they show people photographs of faces with the eyes covered, people still report feeling observed. When they play recordings of footsteps behind someone in a dark hallway,
the listener's superior temporal sulcus lights up, even though there is no one there. The brain is not detecting reality, it is detecting the possibility of reality, and it treats possibilities like facts, because in a survival situation, you do not get a second chance to check. But this creates a problem. If your brain is constantly predicting watchers, constantly filling in the blanks with eyes that might not exist, how do you ever know when the feeling is real? How do you separate the coat rack from the stalker? How do you tell the difference between a survival instinct and paranoia? The answer is, you can't. Not reliably. Because the system does not give you different signals for real threats and false alarms. The feeling is the same. The adrenaline is the same. The cold neck, the tight chest, the urge to turn around, all of it is identical whether someone is actually watching you or your brain is guessing. You can check. You can turn around, scan the room, verify that you are alone. But even after you check, even after you confirm there is no one there, the feeling might not go away, because your watcher is not satisfied with one data point. It wants certainty, and in an uncertain world, certainty does not exist. This is why the woman in Cairo felt the neighbor before she ever saw him. Her brain was picking up signals she could not consciously process. The sound of a key in the lock, the faint vibration of footsteps in the hallway, the change in air pressure when her door opened. Her watcher collected all of that, ran the numbers, and concluded, someone is in your space. It did not know who, it did not know why. It just knew the math was wrong, that the environment had changed in a way that suggested a presence. And it was right. The jinn her mother warned her about was not supernatural. It was her own brain, doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, detecting a predator she could not see. But the man in Sao Paulo shows the other side. His brain detected the same signals, ran the same calculations, and came to the same conclusion. Someone is watching. Except this time there was no one, just a shape in a window that looked enough like a person to trigger the alarm. His watcher did not care that the shape never moved. It did not care that the logic made no sense. It saw a head-shaped object in his blind spot and assumed intent. And once that assumption was made, once the feeling of being watched took root, no amount of rational thought could dislodge it. Because the watcher does not answer to your conscious mind. It operates in parallel, running its own analysis, making its own decisions, and feeding you conclusions in the form of feelings you cannot ignore. So what are you supposed to do with this? If your brain is designed to see watchers that aren't there, if it fills empty rooms with invisible eyes and turns shadows into stalkers, how do you live without constant fear? The answer is uncomfortable. You do not turn the system off. You cannot. It is wired too deep. It is older than language, older than cities, older than the idea that you could ever be truly alone. That system will keep running until you die. It will keep scanning. It will keep guessing. It will keep screaming at you to turn around, to check your blind spot, to verify that the thing you feel is not real.
But you can learn to negotiate with it. You can acknowledge the feeling without letting it control you. You can turn around, check the room, confirm that you are alone, and then make a choice. You can say to your watcher, I hear you. I know you are trying to protect me, but I have checked and there is no threat here. And most of the time, that is enough. The feeling fades, the adrenaline drains, your system resets. Until the next time. Because there will always be a next time. You will feel watched again, in an empty parking lot, in your own bedroom at night, on a crowded street where no one is paying attention to you. And every time you will have to decide, is this real, or is this my brain filling in the gaps? Is there a watcher, or am I the only one here? And the terrifying truth is, you will not always know. You will make the best guess you can with the information you have, and sometimes you will be right, and sometimes you will be wrong, and the feeling will be exactly the same either way. The woman in Cairo trusted her watcher and discovered a real threat. The man in Sao Paulo trusted his watcher and fought a shadow. Both made the right choice for the information they had. Both felt the same sensation. Both were convinced they were being observed. The only difference was the truth, and the truth came later. In the moment, in the cold grip of that feeling, they were both just humans with ancient brains, trying to survive a world that no longer matches the one they were built for. So the next time you feel eyes on the back of your head, the next time your watcher tells you to turn around, listen, check, verify, but do not expect certainty, because your brain is not giving you facts, it is giving you probabilities, educated guesses shaped by 1,000,000 years of survival, and those guesses kept your ancestors alive long enough to create you. Whether they are accurate now, in this moment, in this room, you will only know after you turn around,
And by then, it will already be too late to do anything but react, which is exactly how the system was designed.